Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Mad love and respect for passing through. It's Tuesday today, guys. We are pumped. We are ready. We're going to be bringing the fire in the New York stream later on today. So if you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe so you can get notified when I do go live to bring in the New York Open. It's going to be a very busy day today, guys. We've got Powell speaking at 7 o'clock tonight. So I'll be going live again at that point to bring in the madness that price may actually go through whilst Mr. Powell is talking about the Fed's approach to inflation and the growing economical concerns around the US. But in today's video, this one's for the holders. And currently, we are at a point in the charts where psychologically, everyone is a little bit concerned. Allow me to bring you to the Glassnode itself. Now, you do hear about this quite a bit on Twitter itself. People make a lot of references to this. I don't really talk much about it unless I need to talk about it. But now we have come to a point in the Glassnode where we do need to pay attention. Check this out. You can see that at the low right here, it would show that based on the key from the Glassnode, traders are now in fear. Okay? The only level next, ladies and gentlemen, is capitulation. Now, some are saying that we haven't reached capitulation just yet, ladies and gentlemen, which is a little bit of a concern because the question is, how low can Bitcoin go? This is the concerning thing that we have got. If we start looking deeper and deeper into the Glassnode itself, we can see bright as day that traders right now are feeling fearful. Okay, as you can see from this key, they are feeling fearful. So traders who are holding Bitcoin at certain points from whenever they decided to purchase Bitcoin, in terms of their profit and losses, they are feeling fearful right now. Now, the thing is about this chart right here, guys, is it just gives you a snapshot of people's sentiment at particular points in the chart based on the profit and losses that they hold in Bitcoin positions. Now we are heading into fear. And that's visible with this key right here. The only next point that is available in terms of this key is capitulation. So what price does Bitcoin need to get to in order to achieve capitulation? Now, if you look at the capitulation points in this chart, ladies and gentlemen, when Bitcoin made its last high of $1,000, it went all the way down towards $293, even lower. Okay, yeah, $211. And that point was a capitulation for Bitcoin. We then go all the way up to 19, 20K up here. And then Bitcoin goes all the way down to $3,200. And that would be capitulation. We go from the high up here at $10,000 nearly. And we go all the way down towards $5,000. So only 50% of its value from its last high at that point led to capitulation. But the chart right now is showing that Bitcoin from its high of 63, 67, currently at the 30K range, yet to see capitulation. Do we need to see capitulation? Are people going to let go of Bitcoin? Given that 80,000 Bitcoin was sold, Bitcoin has done a great job of holding its position. Just because it's holding its position doesn't mean that it's not going to go lower because of that, because holders of the coin are maintaining it and supporting it. More importantly, is the market maker purposely holding Bitcoin until a later date? Is he going to drift price further up? Has the move already happened in Bitcoin? This is the question that a lot of people are asking. Now, from a holder's perspective, do you go long in this area? Now listen, you've heard me say this before. If you're a holder, the idea of a holder is to pick up Bitcoin where you would perceive it to be at the lowest point. Then you would anticipate it to move up to a particular point where you are left with another decision. Do I then sell the amount of Bitcoin I have here and take a profit and anticipate a retrace back down so that now I have more money to get Bitcoin at a lower price so that then I can hope for the next situation where it would move up again and I'm compounding my gains? You see, what a lot of people tend to do is they tend to leave their positions open So the holder would open positions in here. He would allow it to go up here. He would see a loss in this instance, and then he would then add to the position, and then he would hope that price continues up. But what if Bitcoin doesn't do that, ladies and gentlemen? What if it goes up from this point, comes back down, and then ends up going down lower? That's going to be a problem for the holder, because yes, he may have picked up Bitcoin cheaper at this point. It had reflected that cheapness and moved out into a premium zone where the holder could have actually took a profit and then waited for the next drop down. But instead he decided to hold on to it, which would then mean that he's now having to tap into other capital so that he can be in a position to buy more Bitcoin in this point. See, this is the issue that many holders have. When do you sell? Because if the holder is looking purely on the idea of holding, you wouldn't need any of this information. You would just be buying Bitcoin regardless. And if you can see that Bitcoin's at 30k, given that it's come from 60 zone, it doesn't matter what price you buy Bitcoin at. But there has to be a strategy for a holder. There has to be a way that he can extract liquidity and pay himself and reward his efforts from being patient in one instance, okay? And then acting when it's time to take a profit. So where does that leave us now? Given that Bitcoin has dropped aggressively to the downside and it's trying to hold this range, the ideal scenario would be that Bitcoin needs to make its way back into this 800 EMA. This is the proof of the move. Okay? Bitcoin has done a great job of trying to hold above this 5 EMA on the daily time frame. Now listen, guys, it's hard because news around the crypto space, okay, is designed to get you to do something, to feel something, so that in the end, your liquidity is going to reflect that impression. You're either going to sell into Bitcoin or you're going to buy Bitcoin based on the information that is being put out to people around the world. Now listen, if you look at Bitcoin on a weekly basis, you can see that we have got these wicks to the downside, which is consistent with the market itself tapping liquidity for the traders who are trying to run the shorts, and of course the traders who are trying to buy the dip and they get shaken out. Okay? You look left, yes, we do have these vector candles, ladies and gentlemen, and they are close by, but this is information. If they're not coming into them now, does that mean they're going to come into them later on? Will we see a recovery in Bitcoin? Now listen, from a holder's perspective, I'm going to assume you want to make money. Okay? So here is a mini strategy that you could apply. Hypothetically, ladies and gentlemen, Bitcoin moves up in this area. Okay? Let's assume that you decide to start picking up Bitcoin at the current price point. Even though in the back of your mind, you know that Bitcoin could actually move down lower, because that's the word on the street right now, that we still haven't had capitulation. There's still more blood needing to be taken by the markets. All right? Well, if everyone is feeling that sort of scenario, then everyone's going to be favoring that direction. Everyone's going to be doing what? Running the shorts. What a perfect time to reverse price back up, to eat that liquidity for those traders. Does that make sense? See, if everyone is running shorts and they still think Bitcoin can go lower, they're going to be opening shorts. Now, of course, we've got to be aware. Today, we have Powell speaking, so that could trigger something. But if we didn't have Powell speaking and we just had a normal trading day, price in principle would potentially try and work its way back up to start recovering some of the profits that the market maker has been providing for people in terms of opening shorts, but he has been going long. If Bitcoin does decide to go down lower, we will have a conversation about that as we see price breaking down. Right now, Bitcoin isn't breaking below this point right here, and Bitcoin is staying within this zone right here. But the point of interest for me is this area, the 34,000 and the 26,722 zone. This is where the magic is going to begin. And this is what we're waiting for. Now, if you as a holder are going to consider picking up Bitcoin from this area right here, what you must be aware of is this. If Bitcoin does move up and you've picked up some Bitcoin from this point and it makes its way up towards the 800 EMA, hypothetically, then what you must be aware of is this. If it's going to move back down again, don't leave money on the table. Yes, you are a holder, but the idea is to pick up more of it. Take your money, pay yourself. Because if Bitcoin is going to move down lower, principle would say that in order for them to move lower, they would have to move higher. Because the market maker wants to get his shorts filled at the highest possible point so that he can then bring it back down again after he's trapped enough people in long positions whilst taking advantage of the traders who went short that didn't pay themselves. Remember that. It's fractal. They're going to do all of this on the smaller time frames. If you are at a low point in Bitcoin and you pick up Bitcoin cheaply and it moves into a point where it's more expensive now to buy, but you are in a profit because it's at premium, you sell into the trader who is buying at this point. Then you sit back and you wait. You wait until the traders who have stepped in at this point right here are the ones who are feeling as though they're missing out on an opportunity on Bitcoin to continue higher, and then price in principle would look to come back down again. And this is where you would enter again. Okay? Because in this zone, we would anticipate that Bitcoin would form this structure. Okay? Now, what if Bitcoin continues to go up and then continues to go higher and higher? Then your retraces won't last that long. In other words, if Bitcoin does break above the 800 EMA, comes back down and tests it, okay, and then looks to try and continue back up again, at this point, the 50 EMA would be merged like so. 200 EMA would be closer. The 800 EMA will end up being flat. And you would have yourself some solid confluences that if price was to come back up above this point, you would want to see vector candles appearing in this zone right here to start breaking higher away from the 800, and then the 50 EMA would bounce to serve a movement to the upside and try and cross over this 50 EMA. Now I am seeing a bit of information in regards to this 3-day chart, okay, and talking about a death cross on this 3-day chart. People have asked me to talk about this, and I'm going to address it right now. All right? Okay. So the 50 crossing over the 200 EMA. Is that going to be a problem? Yeah, it probably would. But listen to this. Each candlestick that forms, right? In 1 day and 16 hours, the 50 EMA is going to move once, okay? Remember, each time the candle prints, the moving averages move, right? If price holds this range, the crossover in principle may not be aggressive. In other words, if it stays in this range and moves up ever so slightly over the next 6 days, so we have 2 more candles, then the aggressive nature of the crossover of the 3-day chart might be a signal to drop Bitcoin lower. It could actually be a change in momentum, but it also might be a bit of a weak crossover. You see, what you want to see in terms of these death crosses and golden crosses, which I don't really follow, is you want to see an aggressive breakdown. All right? So look, the last time we had a death cross was never, in my opinion, on the 3-day chart. Didn't really see it. If you base it on the 50 and the 200 EMA. All right? Remember the idea that if price comes to the 50 or the moving average comes to price, there is a little bit of information in that area. Why? Because if the moving average comes to the price, it would imply that price hasn't done anything and it hasn't moved anywhere. If the price moves towards the moving average, then it would be a sound understanding that the momentum is present and they want to quickly get price back into the moving average to bring things back into the fray, to follow through with their intention to move down lower. You see, people wait for the cross to happen, but that's not where you want to be. Because when price moves its way back up to here, the idea of the cross doesn't really come to play anymore because you think that it's going to continue higher. Then when it starts to make its way down, the momentum builds up. You're testing as to whether or not it's going to hold, and you would have missed the momentum development, and then you then go short from the lowest point, and then that's the point where Bitcoin then decides to reverse back up. But the cross would have happened, and that would have been the trap. Many a times we've seen the death cross happen and the golden cross happen on the daily time frame, okay? And it ended up shaking out traders. Here is an example. Look at the 50 EMA crossing over the 200 EMA right here, okay? They move down. Price goes into and fulfills the crossover. But then by the time it comes into full play, it reverses price back up. So the same guys that entered on the cross of this point right here ended up getting shaken out. Well, what was the point in that? Because when you look at it from a daily time frame, the average trader is going to look at the death cross and say, that's it now. Bitcoin's going to go lower because the moving average has crossed over. So the retail trader is holding his position in this area here, and he's holding it. And even though price is coming back up, he's still looking at this cross right here. Well, that's going to either put him at a liquidation, or he's going to be back at break even again, to the point where he sees it goes down again. He then commits himself and says, that's it, I'm staying in this because the death cross is still valid. And then it comes back up again. He's still not going to take any money off the table. He waits for it to continue down lower. He's still paying attention to the cross. And then what happens? Price ends up moving up to this point, completely going beyond his entry point. And he is now at a loss, to the point where he says to himself, that's it, I can't take it anymore. I'm going to go long. And then price just breaks down lower. I hope this video makes sense, ladies and gentlemen. Please forgive me if I have battered your earlobes with a lot of information so early in the morning. If you are new to the channel, be sure to like and subscribe so you can check in with the pattern watchers. And moving forward, if you don't have access to these indicators and it is your first time passing through to the channel, go to the Traders Reality website, tradersreality.com, where you can download this information free of charge. And if you want to learn a little bit more about the hybrid system, make your way over to the masterclasses themselves. There's over 50 masterclasses where I dive into deeper aspects of the hybrid system itself, and you can check that out at patreon.com/tradersreality. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, listen, it has been a pleasure to serve you yet again. But the fire begins today at 2 p.m. So make sure you hit the lives today, 2 p.m. GMT, because that is when we will know if Bitcoin is going to get some flavor in the chart to move to the upside or the dreaded downside. Mad love and respect to you all. Have yourselves a great day, and I'll check in with you later. Peace.